Today, we're walking through my biggest and most successful project to date. I took a seed stage startup from 0 to 1.5 million organics per month. And no, this wasn't vanity traffic. This campaign drove more than 100,000 paid customers. And this enabled the startup to go from seed stage to Series A to Series B at a $210 million valuation led by A16Z in about a 2-year period. To do it, we had to publish more than 10,000 pages and grow our content team to 45 people at its peak. And in this video, I'm covering strategy, keyword research, internal documentation and SOPs, content, internal linking, site structure, and technical SEO. Literally everything you need to repeat it. And the best part, my philosophy to SEO means you control 100% of the outcome. No praying to the Google gods, no dumping money into a black box called backlinks and praying it works. And make sure you stick around to the end because we got stuck at 500,000 organics a month and we didn't grow again until we did these specific things. My name is Nick Jordan and I'm the founder of ContentDistribution.com, a performance content agency that turns words into dollars. And we've taken 6 brands from 0 to over 100,000 organics a month at the time of recording. We began working with DoNotPay in 2019 and we worked together for about 2.5 years before handing off the campaign to an in-house team. BBC called DoNotPay founder Joshua Browder the Robin Hood of the internet after DoNotPay helped dispute tens of thousands of parking tickets. Let's talk about the opportunity. SEO is all about capturing existing demand. People have a problem and they type that problem into Google search. And this means you can get in front of them while they're feeling maximum pain and they're most willing to pull out their wallets to solve it. And because of how DoNotPay works, the opportunity was enormous because not only can DoNotPay help you dispute parking tickets, but the consumer rights app can help you find unclaimed money, get free Wi-Fi, generate burner phone numbers, generate virtual credit cards to use during free trials, help you cancel hard to cancel subscriptions, appeal toll booth tickets, help win chargebacks, sue robocallers, and about a million other things. Now, if you don't understand the implication of this, let me explain. If we created a landing page called dispute parking tickets, it will eventually rank for dispute parking tickets, but that's not the way most people search. Most people search dispute parking tickets in Seattle or appeal parking tickets in San Francisco. And my page about dispute parking tickets won't rank for either of those because Google can find a lot more relevant pages for the user when they add a city modifier. And my page doesn't mention Seattle or San Francisco at all. And adding Seattle or San Francisco wouldn't be enough either. And the reason is because disputing parking tickets in these cities and cities across the country is highly specific to wherever you got the parking ticket. You go to different courthouses located in different locations. You file different forms. The fees are different, the dispute process is different, and the time frame for when you need to pay is different. And when searchers are searching for dispute parking tickets in Seattle, they're not looking for DoNotPay. They don't even know there's an app that can help you dispute it. They're looking for general information on how to dispute parking tickets in Seattle or San Francisco or Toledo. And DoNotPay is just an easier way to do it, but it's totally not required at all. So if I want to rank for dispute parking tickets in Seattle or appeal parking tickets in San Francisco, I need to create a dedicated page for each of those cities because I need to use all of the real estate on that page to specifically describe how to dispute parking tickets in those different cities with the correct information about where the courthouse is located, what their phone number is, what the address is, what the fines are, what the appeal process looks like, the laws that could invalidate a ticket. And I need to answer the searcher's question and then position DoNotPay is a better way to do it. The same as canceling hard to cancel subscriptions. A generic landing page on how to cancel difficult to cancel subscriptions won't rank for cancel Planet Fitness or cancel Netflix or cancel New York Times. If I want to rank for those topics, I need specific pages dedicated toward those topics. And this means I need to create thousands of pages across dozens of features to rank for all of the ways that DoNotPay can help consumers. And this isn't just the DoNotPay problem. If you look at all of the biggest winners in SEO, NerdWallet, HubSpot, The Points Guy, Zapier, the one thing they all have in common is they all have thousands of pages. I put together a list of some of my favorite SEO campaigns of all time. And on it, I have the domain, the DR, estimated traffic, and number of pages on the website. And I use this data to figure out, on average, how much traffic each of these brands gets per page per month. month. And the results are interesting. On the low end, you have the points guy. They generate about 1.5 million organics a month from 30,000 pages, which means on average, each page generates about 50 visitors per month. And on the high end, you have Wirecutter with an estimated 5.5 million organics a month from about 2,800 pages, which means on average, each page generates about 2,000 visitors per month. That's about a 20x difference. Now, all of us would prefer to be the Wirecutter, but the truth is none of us are. And the reason I'm showing you this is to set your expectations on what it takes to win big at SEO. You're not going to be the next HubSpot with 100 pages or 1,000. You're going to need closer to 10,000 pages. Now, I'm not trying to discourage you either. You don't need to be HubSpot, literally one of the biggest winners in SEO on the internet, to create a highly lucrative acquisition channel. In the comparison between the points guy with 50 visitors per month per page and Wirecutter with 2,000 visitors per month per page isn't quite a fair comparison because they're both in different niches. Let's do the same style of analysis, but let's focus on websites all in the same niche. These are the 9 biggest websites I found in the pet space, and number 10 is my website, doggypedia.org. When we analyze the best and the worst in terms of traffic generated per page per month, we see that the band is a lot more narrow. On the low end, we have CertaPet with 170 visitors per month per page, and on the high end, we have HillsPet with 872 visitors per month per page. Now, what's interesting is Doggypedia, a DR9, is right in the middle of the pack, generating about 500 visitors per month per page, which is more traffic per page than 2 DR60 websites and 2 DR70 websites, despite being a DR9. If you haven't seen the case study where I break down exactly how I took doggypedia.org from 0 to over 100,000 organics a month, go to the description and open the link in a new tab. It covers the exact process I used to rank a DR9 website for tens of thousands of keywords and beating out DR70s and DR80 websites. I also covered 2 tricks that are hard to crack, but if you can pull it off, make everything a lot easier. Now, the reason DoNotPay came to us, contentdistribution.com, is because back in 2019, I was one of the only SEOs talking about the power of publishing a lot of high quality content. Content quality has hit the mainstream, but back in 2019, everybody was still talking about PBNs. So at this point, I had already taken 3 projects from 0 to over 100,000 organics a month without building backlinks. Joshua saw this and knew we were the right team for the job. But regardless of how credentialed I was, everybody knows SEOs are the worst form of marketers. They can't be trusted. They're all charlatans and scammers. So Joshua gave us a small budget and told us to make it work. We took that small budget and we did what we said we could do. We drove a ton of attributable revenue. Then DoNotPay decided it was time to scale like crazy. So first, let's talk about the KPIs I use to hold my team accountable. And when I give these KPIs to our clients, they can use to hold all of us accountable. And when I give to you, you can now use to hold your SEO team accountable too. And these KPIs allow you to know if the campaign is off track within about 8 weeks, which in SEO time is almost instantly. So the overarching goal of every campaign is to drive at least a 3x ROAS. ROAS means return on ad spend. This word is way more commonly used in the Facebook ad space, but we try and treat SEO as close to paid media as possible, and so we use ROAS too. And driving a 3x ROAS takes time, but it doesn't mean you can't see early indicators that you're on the right track throughout the entire lifespan of the campaign. So we set up a couple different KPIs depending on the stage of the campaign that lets us know if we're on track or off track. The first KPI we want to be held accountable to is, are we doing good work? In the beginning, that's the only thing you can judge us on. And what that means is, are we creating good content? Are we organized? Do we meet the deadlines we set for ourselves? If your SEO isn't organized and the content isn't good and they can't meet deadlines, this is your first signal that the campaign is going to go off track. Once we start publishing, the next KPI is impressions, because impressions are an early indicator of incoming clicks. You can't get clicks without impressions. And so what you should see after publishing is that impressions begin to increase week over week. Impressions tell you that the content you published is getting indexed and your website is appearing somewhere in the first 10 pages of the search results when a user types in a search query. And this is important because before we rank on page 1 and generate traffic, we need to rank on page 9, page 8, page 7 first. So impressions tell us that our content is being indexed and we're now appearing in the search results. This is the second area you can flag the campaign is off track. If impressions aren't increasing, clicks will not come. And impressions should be increasing week over week, most weeks. Not every week, but what we see is about 6 or 7 out of 10 10 weeks, impressions will hit a new all-time high. Now, soon after impressions, clicks should start to dribble in, and they're gonna be inconsistent at first, but once we publish about 30 to 50 pages of content, clicks should begin reaching new all-time highs week over week. Not every week, but most weeks. And this is the third area your campaign could signal that it's off track. If traffic isn't consistently increasing most weeks, you're never gonna hit that 3x ROAS. Now, finally, once impressions and traffic is consistently growing week over week, most weeks, it's time to start paying attention to revenue KPIs. This could be signups, demos, or actual purchases. And at this stage of the campaign, we should have enough data here to know where to go next by identifying which topics have the highest audience offer fit. And the goal with conversion KPIs is that they should be increasing linearly with traffic. When traffic goes up, conversion should go up. And it's not just DoNotPay that looks like this. I'm gonna show you 3 active projects we're currently running. I'm gonna anonymize the graphs so you don't know who they belong to show you that growing week over week in clicks and impressions is a realistic goal to hold your SEO accountable to. The first project I'm gonna show you, we started publishing in early 2023. Clicks and impressions dribbled in inconsistently for just a few weeks before beginning to hit all-time highs most weeks. And you can literally see it in the graph. Almost every single week, we hit a new all-time high and in clicks and impressions over a year-long campaign. Project number 2, we started publishing about mid-2023. Clicks and impressions were inconsistent at first until we published about 30 to 50 pages of content, and then we started hitting new all-time highs on clicks and impressions almost every single week. Not every week, but most weeks. This last project we kicked off just recently, and zoomed in, you can see how inconsistent the clicks and impressions are initially. But once we publish somewhere between 30 to 50 pages, clicks and impressions start reaching a new all-time high most weeks. Now, if clicks, impressions, or revenue KPIs are flat for more than 8 weeks, the campaign is off track. Unless you do something different, you're not going to get the desired outcome. And in the DoNotPay graph, you can see we hit a flat spot at around 500,000 organics a month, and we stayed there for quite a while. Later on in the video, I'm going to explain exactly what we did to fix it. Now, if you think growing clicks and impressions week over week, most week is aggressive, smash that subscribe button, because I've got a whole content calendar full of secrets and tricks and tips you can use to get similar results. Next, join our Facebook group. It's the #1 content ops community on the internet with more than 11,000 members. And it's not just me sharing my secrets. I convinced SEOs and marketers like Rand Fishkin, or from brands like SEMrush, Serve for SEO, G2, Shopify, Quora, Coinbase, to come into the community and share their secrets too. Go to facebook.com/groups/content distribution engine or tap the link in the description. So now that you know the KPIs that we hold ourselves accountable to, let's go through the campaign in chronological order, starting with GTM or go-to-market. Go-to-market is where we learn about the company, the industry, the customers, the products, features, CTAs, pricing, brand, voice, messaging, positioning, all the strong thoughts and opinions that senior stakeholders and SMEs have. And this part is super important because in content writing, every single word is a liability to mess something up. Grammar, spelling, punctuation, table stakes. I'm talking about consistent messaging and positioning, voice across hundreds or thousands of pages. This part is so hard. It's the #1 complaint we hear from our clients about working with other agencies. The go-to-market process starts with knowledge transfer. We want to download all the strong thoughts and opinions you have about your customers, your industry, why you're here to save the day. We also want to capture press, accolades, endorsements, your favorite industry resources that we're not going to find on the first page of Google. This could be podcasts, communities, newsletter, ebooks, guides, all that expert level content that doesn't rank that well. And we're going to turn all of this into documentation that we're going to use to hold our content team accountable. Once we wrap up this documentation, we're going to hand it to you for feedback and integrate any changes that you have. But it doesn't stop there. When you give us feedback on our content, we're updating this doc. It acts as a living, breathing rule book we'll use to evaluate content before you see it. Going through this process also helps us understand where to start our keyword research. Basically, our goal is to identify the audience that has the highest audience offer fit. Who do you really crush it with? Now, DoNotPay has dozens of features. And the feature they have the strongest offering with is their appeal parking ticket product. So that's where we started. First, we go to Ahrefs and we use their keyword explorer. And we're going to type in parking ticket, parking tickets, parking violation, parking violations, parking fine, parking fines. Then we click having same search term. And this tells Ahrefs we want to see all of the keywords in your database that contains one of these phrases. Ahrefs tells us that there's over 22,000 keywords that match one of these phrases, representing over 600 640,000 searches every single month. That's a lot of parking tickets. Now, this is where Ahrefs or SEMrush let us down. This is an unstructured list of keywords, which is an important step of the process, but it's not the last step of the process. We need to take this unstructured list of keywords and develop a content calendar so we can answer questions like, how many pages of content do we need to create to rank for all of the ways that people are searching? We can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. And if you have $39, do it the easy way. Good choice. All you got to do next is export your list, head on over to Cluster AI and import your keyword list. And you're already done. In a few minutes, Cluster AI is going to give you back a deliverable that looks like this. It took that list of unstructured keywords and grouped together keywords that can rank together on one page. Each row is a unique topic, and it contains the main keyword, which is the keyword with the most search volume in the group, all the variations of the main keyword, which can rank along with the main keyword on the same page, and the total combined search volume across all of the keywords the page is targeting. And we saw 3 types of topics: dispute parking tickets by city, dispute parking tickets by state, and general dispute parking ticket related searches that could come from anywhere in the country. The next thing we need to do is create another batch of enablement documentation. Instead of focusing on the industry and company level information, we're going to capture all those strong thoughts and opinions about parking tickets specifically. What's the normal dispute process look like? How many disputes has DoNotPay won? What major publications have talked about your dispute feature? What kind of resources should we be citing? How much does a lawyer cost? Where can we find public stats? Everything you know about this topic, we're going to capture and integrate into our enablement documentation. Now it's finally time to start writing content. This go-to-market process takes about 4 weeks. 4 weeks sounds like a lot of time. Everybody wants to go faster, but in the context of a multi-year campaign, it's nothing. And it sets the groundwork for everything that we do next. It doesn't work without doing these things. So we assign the initial cohort of content to our content team and they start writing. In a few minutes, I'll tell you how we hire the best, most affordable writers on the internet. Now, this is where the magic happens. When you review the initial cohort of content and give feedback, we not only update the content you gave us feedback on and all of the content currently in production, but we also update our enablement documentation too, because we treat our enablement documentation like a living, breathing rulebook. And anytime you give us feedback on anything, it goes into the enablement documentation. And we use this to evaluate all future content we pass to you. And what this means is you only need to give us feedback on something once, and we'll never make the same mistake again. And this means very quickly, over a couple dozen pages of content, we go from feedback to looks good, folks, see you next week. So let's talk about hiring writers. When we started working with DoNotPay, it was just me and my editor, Gordana, and a handful of freelance writers. In order to grow the team, Gordana was promoted to content manager, then to PM, then head of content operations. And together, she and I grew the team to 45 full-time team members. At our peak, we were publishing over 600 pages per month. And during this process, I learned everything I know about hiring writers. First of all, it's super easy to find writers. With 10 minutes of time and $160, you can post a job ad on ProBlogger and get 600 applicants in the next 72 hours. Getting writing applicants is the easiest part of the whole process. Or if you want to do it for free, you can use a little bit more time and go and post your job ad on Reddit and Facebook groups. LinkedIn gives you your first job ad for free. Getting applicants is easy. The hardest part is figuring out which one of those applicants to hire. In 2024, writing is the lowest barrier work from home job. Everyone with a crummy job who doesn't want to dig ditches anymore is applying to write for you. But 40% of Americans have below a 6th grade reading level. And just because you're American, Canadian, or British doesn't mean you're qualified to write anything. A lot of bad writers have good portfolios though. What happens is a company hires them for a trial article. The writer then submits really bad content, but the company already paid for it, so they feel like they have to get their money's worth. And their editor spends all day rewriting it to get it publishable. That writer gets fired. And then they go apply to their next job, and their portfolio has that piece of content that had to be completely rewritten by someone else and doesn't reflect at all the content they'll submit to you. Now, this is more common than not. I spent thousands of dollars on content that I couldn't use without a total rewrite until I started using Workello to skills test my writers before I hired them. Basically, Workello makes it super simple to filter through hundreds of applicants and identify and hire the top 1%. Here's how it works. Go to workello.com and sign up for an account and use Workello's template library. Each template contains a job description that's pre-written for you, a writing skills test that's pre-written. All of the applicant communication you'll do is pre-written, and it has resources on where to hire the type of writers you're looking for. Get it all set up in a couple minutes and then post a job ad on ProBlogger, Reddit, Facebook groups, or LinkedIn. Applicants find your job on these platforms and they complete their application on Workello. Then they start streaming your Workello dashboard, and from here, everything is just one click away. One click reject to send the applicant a polite rejection, and one click test to send the applicant a skills test. Once the applicant submits their skills test, you get a notification letting you know it's time to review it. And Workello is completely streamlined to keep the top 5% engaged and invested so they take your skills test and you can hire them. If you're managing the process using email or Google Forms, your best writers are dropping out before they take your skills test, which means you can't hire them. I also learned a lot about what it takes to keep your content team happy. And this is super important because if every single word is a liability to mess something up, how much someone cares is going to dictate the level of quality that they create for you. So here's 2 big tips on keeping everyone happy. The first is everyone on our content team has 38 days of PTO or paid time off. Some people even take a lot more unpaid time off. And at first, this offended my American capitalistic ideals. But in actuality, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. Not only does my team get the time off that they need to be relentless when they are at work, but the second is because everyone is always gone, we can't rely on any given person to make things happen. We had to create a company culture that doesn't rely on any given individual for content to be created and created well. There are no heroes in our organization torturing themselves to keep everything glued together because the heroes have 38 days of PTO and aren't at work this week. The second thing is something that Brooklyn Nash said perfectly. Don't treat your content team like a vending machine. These are real people with real people feelings and desires and goals and challenges. The better you treat your content team, the better content you'll get in return. So we use the strategy I just walked you through across dozens of different products on DoNotPay. We published thousands of pages and took DoNotPay to 500,000 organics a month, and then we flatlined. It wasn't because of our content quality or our processes or our systems or our team. It was due to some technical BS that for most brands isn't important, but when you have thousands and thousands of pages becomes extremely important. Now, you may have heard me refer to technical SEO as BS before, or maybe a bunch of times. Technical SEO has high leverage when you have a lot of pages, and it has low leverage when you have a few pages. With technical SEO, you make one change and it propagates against the entire website instantly. The more pages you have, the more it's worth. Technical SEO takes up too much of the SEO conversation because most brands don't have enough pages to begin with. And this was true with DoNotPay in the beginning. The biggest lever was spinning up our content engine. But once we reached thousands of pages, we flatlined because of technical SEO. And to emphasize how important technical SEO is to most brands, I've taken 4 brands from 0 to over 100,000 organics a month without doing anything more technical than clicking buttons in a WordPress plugin setting. While we were stalling out on DoNotPay, I'd also been trying to recruit a director of SEO for the last year. And he finally said yes and joined our team. Boyan is a beast. Not only is he the most technical SEO I know, but he also had firsthand experience with the power of high quality content velocity. When he took an art startup to hundreds of thousands of organics a month by publishing thousands of pages with dozens of people on his content team. He's a unicorn. Technical SEO, content velocity, people management. What we've accomplished today is in large part due to him. And no, you can't have him. But if you want to connect with him, go to linkedin.com and type in Boyan Myrick. So let's get into it. One of the most impactful technical SEO activities is site structure. As the footprint of your website grows, site structure becomes increasingly important. We didn't go from 0 to 10,000 pages overnight. It happened over the course of a couple of years. So as the amount of content increased, we had to consistently revamp their site structure in a way that made sense with the amount of content that they had on that day. And that's because even though Google's the most well-capitalized company in the world, they can't crawl and index every single web page they discover. In fact, I recently heard a rumor that of the pages Google does crawl, only 4% make it into their index. I heard another rumor that last year when the entire internet experienced indexing issues, it was because Google didn't have enough cooling for their data centers. So basically, we want to make it as easy and as cheap for Google to crawl our website as possible. And the number one way you can do that is reduce the number of clicks it takes to go from the homepage to any given page that we want to rank. So let's start from top to bottom with the header navigation. Link to your blog in the header, but don't call it a blog. Pick something more user-centric, like Learning Center, or Resource Center, or Resource Library, or Knowledge Base. Anything but blog. Next, let's talk about the homepage in general. An internal link on your website is like a vote to Google that a particular page is important to your brand. And the more internal links that page has, the more important that Google thinks that page is to your brand and makes it easier to rank. An internal link from your homepage is the most powerful internal link you can have. One of my other videos, I said that I like to do internal links from the homepage to specific pages that have the most opportunity. And it's true, I do. But with DoNotPay, we simply had too many pages. The only place we could link to from the homepage is category pages. Typically, when we're working on a project, we want to have two sections on the homepage to link to individual blog posts. The first section is for the most recent blogs published. And this basically brings your newest content onto the homepage so it's indexed very quickly and you hit the ground running. The second section we like to create is internal links to the pages with the most opportunity, whether that's by traffic, signups, or revenue. Finally, we like to create a section that's dedicated to linking to category pages. And this is what we did with DoNotPay initially. As the number of pages increased and the number of products that we created content about increased, there was simply too much opportunity to continue to do this. And we replaced the internal links to the pages that were most recently published and had the most opportunity with just category links. Next, let's talk about the blog/learning center. If you have a couple hundred pages, you can probably get away with just linking to the most recent blogs from your blog page. If the user or Google wants to see more, they can just scroll to the bottom and use the pagination to see the rest. Once you get to thousands of pages though, instead of linking to individual blog posts from your blog page, you want to replace all those internal links with links to categories. So the user or Googlebot journey is they go to the homepage, they click Learning Center, they click into a category, and underneath the category, they're going to see all of the blog posts. Don't make this mistake and do what everybody else is doing, which is have hundreds of blog posts. You only display 10 at a time, and Google or the user has to click through 20 pages of pagination to get to where they want to go. Next, we want to optimize the article page itself. It starts with a breadcrumb, and a breadcrumb allows the user or the Googlebot to go from the article page to the category page back to the homepage. Add a sticky table of contents that follows the users as they scroll. Create a header CTA and a bottom article CTA. And in-content CTAs. Because the more users that jump into your funnel, the better your user engagement metrics like time on site, pages visited, bounce rate, overall site engagement, and return visitors will be. Some other technical issues that are important to pay attention to are site speed and core web vitals, non-index pages, canonical issues, and internal redirect chains. I'm not going to cover these in the video today because technical SEO is one of the most widely documented parts of SEO. For each one of these issues, there's hundreds of videos and articles that you can read to fix them. Most of these issues can be fixed by a developer that doesn't have any SEO experience, and the cost to hire them is measured in hundreds of dollars. In November 2021, DoNotPay decided to bring the campaign in-house, and we bid them farewell. This campaign had a huge impact on the trajectory of content distribution and my career, and would eventually lead to working with brands like ClickUp, Privacy.com, Skiff, just acquired by Notion, and FDIC insured banks. So thank you, Joshua, for our time together. Smash that subscribe button and ask me anything in the comments below or the Content Ops community, especially if it's how I can replicate these results with a lot smaller budget. See you next week.